There are moments in life when the night feels longer than it should, when prayers seem to rise no higher than the ceiling, when effort brings sweat but no visible reward. And yet, it is often in such moments that heaven is most quietly at work. We are tempted to believe that breakthrough comes by accident, that it is the result of luck, timing, or human strength alone. But what if the delay is not denial? What if the silence is not absence? What if the struggle itself is preparation? God does not waste pain. He does not ignore tears. He does not overlook faith that trembles but refuses to die. A seed buried in the soil might think it has been forgotten. It is covered in darkness, pressed on every side. And yet, that very pressure is what causes it to break open, not to destroy it, but to transform it. So it is with us. The breakthrough you long for is not merely an event, it is a becoming, a shaping of the soul strong enough to carry what it once only dreamed of holding. Divine help rarely arrives with thunder. More often it comes quietly, as courage when you thought you had none, as peace in the middle of uncertainty, as strength that surprises you. You may feel delayed, but you are being directed. You may feel hidden, but you are being formed. There is a hand at work beyond what you can see, a wisdom greater than your understanding, a love deeper than your fear. Breakthrough is not just God changing your circumstances, it is God changing you, so that when the door opens, you are ready to walk through it, and the door will open, not because you forced it, not because you deserved it, but because grace decided the time had come. Divine help is not on its way. It is already here. Look closely. Listen carefully. Stand faithfully. Your breakthrough is being guided. Delay is one of the hardest teachers of the human soul. We are creatures who measure progress by movement, success by speed, and favor by visible results. When something we have prayed for, worked for, and hoped for does not arrive on our preferred schedule, we instinctively assume something is wrong. Either we have failed or heaven has fallen silent. Yet what if delay is not rejection? What if what feels like stillness is, in truth, careful construction? We tend to interpret God's love through the lens of immediacy. If the answer comes quickly, we call it blessing. If it tarries, we call it absence. But love that always gives instantly is not wise love. A parent does not hand the sharp instrument to a child simply because the child cries for it. In the same way, divine wisdom is not hurried by our anxiety. It is guided by a vision larger than our present longing. Delay unsettles us because it exposes our hidden expectation. We say we trust, but we often mean we trust so long as events unfold according to our design. When they do not, impatience rises like a protest within us. Yet this protest reveals something important. We have confused control with faith. True faith does not demand the timetable. It rests in the character of the one who holds time itself. Consider how often growth occurs beneath the surface. Roots extend downward long before branches stretch upward. During that hidden season, nothing appears to be happening. The ground looks unchanged, but beneath it, strength is forming. If the visible growth came first, the structure would collapse under its own weight. Delay, then, is not emptiness. It is reinforcement. There are capacities within us that cannot be developed in comfort or haste. Patience is not born in a day. Endurance is not formed in ease. Character is carved slowly, often through repetition and waiting. When we are delayed, we are being enlarged. Our vision deepens. Our motives are refined. What once was desire alone becomes conviction. What once was ambition becomes calling. Delay also tests the authenticity of our hope. It is easy to declare confidence when the answer seems near. It is far more revealing to remain steady when the horizon appears unchanged. In waiting, shallow enthusiasm fades, but enduring trust grows stronger. The delay separates impulse from devotion. It asks whether we seek merely the gift or the giver himself. We often imagine breakthrough as the sudden moment of arrival, yet we forget the quiet days that made that moment possible. The athlete's victory is seen, but the early mornings of training are not. The tree's fruit is admired, but the unseen seasons of cultivation are overlooked. In the same way, divine preparation may feel uneventful, but it is never purposeless. There is also mercy in delay. If every prayer were answered at once, we might gain what we asked for before we had the wisdom to steward it. Many disappointments are in truth protection. Many postponements are preservation. We do not always see the dangers from which we have been spared, nor the lessons we would have missed had events moved faster. Delay invites us into deeper relationship. When outcomes are postponed, we are drawn not to results, but to presence. We learn to see comfort not in changed circumstances, but in unchanging truth. Waiting stretches our capacity to trust beyond sight. It teaches us that faith is not confidence in speed, but confidence in goodness. Perhaps the most difficult aspect of delay is the silence that often accompanies it. We expect reassurance, signs, or clear explanations. Instead, we are given ordinary days. Yet ordinary days are not empty. They are workshops where resilience is crafted. They are classrooms where humility is learned. They are quiet spaces where dependence grows. When we look back on our lives, we may discover that the seasons we once resented were the very seasons that shaped us most profoundly. What felt like stagnation was actually alignment. What felt like confinement was preparation. The door did not open when we demanded it, but it opened when we were ready to walk through it with steadiness rather than desperation. To call delay rejection is to misunderstand the nature of divine timing. Rejection pushes away. Preparation draws nearer. Rejection closes possibility. Preparation strengthens capacity. If the delay has not destroyed you, perhaps it has been developing you. If it has not diminished your faith, perhaps it has been deepening. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It is a sacred interval between promise and fulfillment. It is where trust matures and identity solidifies. It is where you learn that your worth is not measured by visible progress, but by enduring reliance on the one who guides every step. So when the answer lingers beyond your expectation, do not conclude that you have been forgotten. The pause may be purposeful. The stillness may be strategic. What feels like delay may be careful design. You are not being rejected. You are being readied. Pressure is rarely welcomed, yet it is one of the most transformative forces in the human experience. We instinctively resist it. We pray for a relief from it. We search for exits when we feel surrounded by it. And still, pressure persists as a companion on the path of growth. What we often label as adversity may, in truth, be the instrument that shapes us into something stronger, wiser, and more enduring than we were before. Without pressure, many things remain unchanged. Coal does not become diamond in comfort. Muscles do not strengthen without resistance. Character does not mature in perpetual ease. There is something about being pressed, stretched, and challenged that awakens dormant potential. The soul, like the body, develops through strain. It is not destroyed by weight properly borne. It is defined by it. When pressure first arrives, it feels threatening. It compresses our plans and narrows our options. It exposes weaknesses we did not know we possessed. Yet exposure is not humiliation. It is revelation. It shows us where we are fragile so that we may become fortified. It uncovers fears so they can be confronted rather than concealed. In this way, pressure becomes an honest teacher. We often mistake comfort for blessing and difficulty for abandonment, but comfort can lull us into stagnation. In seasons of ease, we rarely question our motives or examine our foundations. It is pressure that forces introspection. It compels us to ask what we truly believe, what truly matters, and where our ultimate trust rests. When everything external shakes, what remains internal is revealed. Pressure also clarifies priorities. Under strain, trivial pursuits lose their appeal. We discover what we cannot live without and what we can release. The unnecessary falls away. What once seemed urgent proves insignificant. In the refining heat of challenge, distractions burn off, leaving behind a purer focus. In this sense, pressure simplifies us. There is a paradox within struggle. The very force that seems intent on crushing us may actually be breaking something open within us. A seed must split before it can grow. The shell that once protected it must give way to allow life to emerge. To the seed, this rupture might appear like destruction. In reality, it is transformation. So too with us. The breaking is often the beginning of becoming. Pressure develops resilience. Each time we endure difficulty without surrendering to despair, a quiet strength accumulates. We become less shaken by future storms because we have survived previous ones. The memory of endurance becomes a resource. We realize we are capable of more than we imagined. What once would have overwhelmed us now refines us. Yet transformation under pressure is not automatic. Two people can experience the same hardship and emerge differently. One grows bitter, the other grows better. The difference lies not in the intensity of the pressure, but in the posture of the heart. When we interpret hardship as meaningless, it corrodes us. When we trust that it carries purpose, it shapes us. Perspective determines outcome. Pressure also deepens empathy. Those who have never struggled may speak easily, but understand little. Those who have been pressed know the language of pain. They recognize silent battles. They respond with compassion rather than judgment. Thus, the trials that once felt isolating become bridges of connection. Through them, we gain not only strength, but tenderness. There are seasons when the weight feels relentless, when the questions outnumber the answers. In such times, it is tempting to believe we are being crushed beyond recovery. Yet history and experience suggest otherwise. Many of the strongest souls were forged in difficulty. Their wisdom was not born in luxury, but in trial. Their faith was not theoretical, but tested. Pressure strips away illusion. It reveals whether our confidence rests in circumstances or in something deeper. When external supports falter, we are forced to anchor ourselves more securely. What remains after the shaking is often more authentic than what existed before it. The superficial cannot survive sustained strain. Only what is rooted endures. Even in moments when we cannot perceive immediate growth, transformation may still be underway. Just as metal in a furnace does not visibly change at first glance, the internal restructuring of the heart may go unnoticed, but over time the evidence appears. Greater patience, steadier resolve, quieter confidence. The person who emerges from prolonged pressure is seldom the same as the one who entered it. To wish away all pressure would be to wish away the possibility of profound growth. Ease may preserve us, but challenge perfects us. The weight we carry today may be building the capacity required for tomorrow. The discomfort we resist may be expanding our endurance. What feels like confinement may be conditioned. Pressure is not proof that we are failing. It may be proof that we are being fashioned. The process may be uncomfortable, even painful, but its aim is not destruction. It is development. It is a careful shaping of a life capable of bearing greater responsibility, deeper influence, and stronger faith. In the end, transformation rarely occurs in moments of ease. It is born in the tension between what is and what could be. It grows in the space where comfort ends and courage begins. Pressure does not arrive to annihilate. It arrives to refine, and if we allow it, it will turn what once seemed unbearable into the very force that made us unbreakable. There is a common expectation that when divine help arrives, it will announce itself with spectacle. We imagine thunder in the sky, unmistakable signs, sudden reversals of circumstance. We assume that if God is at work, the evidence will be dramatic and undeniable. Yet history, reflection, and quiet experience suggest something different. Divine help often comes softly, almost imperceptibly, working beneath the surface long before it reshapes what we can see. We are drawn to what is loud. Noise feels powerful. Movement feels convincing. But the most significant operations in life are often silent. The heart beats without applause. Thoughts form without sound. Seeds germinate underground, far from observation. In the same way, God's most transformative work may occur in the unseen chambers of the soul before it manifests in the visible world. When circumstances remain unchanged, we are tempted to conclude that nothing is happening. But outward stillness does not imply inward inactivity. A person may appear calm while wrestling deeply within. A landscape may look barren while roots stretch and strengthen beneath the soil. Divine help frequently begins where human eyes cannot follow. Often the first sign of God's quiet work is not a change in events, but a change in us. We discover a patience that was not there before. We respond with restraint where once we would have reacted in haste. We endure with steadiness what previously would have broken us. These subtle shifts are not accidents. They are evidence of strength being supplied quietly. It is easier to recognize help when it removes difficulty. It is harder to recognize help when it equips us to endure difficulty. Yet the latter may be the greater gift. To be delivered from every challenge would leave us fragile. To be strengthened within the challenge builds resilience. Divine help sometimes alters circumstances, but often it fortifies character first. There is also a humility in the quietness of God's work. If every answer arrived with spectacle, we might trust the spectacle rather than the source. If every breakthrough were dramatic, we might seek drama rather than depth. By working subtly, God invites us into attentiveness. We must listen more carefully. We must observe more thoughtfully. We must cultivate awareness. The quiet nature of divine assistance also protects us from pride. Sudden public triumph can inflate the ego. Gradual inner transformation fosters gratitude instead. When growth unfolds slowly, we recognize our dependence. We see that the strength we possess did not originate in us alone. We become aware of grace operating gently but persistently. Consider how often courage appears without fanfare. A person who once feared speaking truth finds the ability to do so calmly. Someone who struggled with despair awakens to a steady hope. These changes may not make headlines, yet they are profound. They represent victories more enduring than temporary success. Divine help frequently works through ordinary means: a timely conversation, a quiet conviction, a persistent sense of peace in the midst of confusion. None of these may seem extraordinary in isolation, yet together they form a pattern of guidance. We are nudged rather than pushed, directed rather than forced, strengthened rather than shielded from every trial. The quietness can test our faith. We prefer clear signs and immediate confirmation. Silence can feel like distance, yet silence may simply be space for growth. Just as a teacher allows a student to solve a problem independently, divine wisdom may step back outwardly while remaining present inwardly. The absence of noise does not mean the absence of care. There is also profound power in subtle change. A river flowing steadily over time can carve stone. The process is gradual, almost invisible day to day, yet the long-term effect is undeniable. So it is with God's work in the heart. Small adjustments accumulate. Minor shifts compound. Over months and years, a transformed character emerges. We often overlook the significance of inner peace during turmoil. When anxiety could easily dominate, yet calm persists, something greater than circumstance is at work. When clarity arises in confusion, when hope remains despite delay, these are not trivial occurrences. They are quiet testimonies of divine presence. The powerful does not always present itself as overwhelming. Sometimes true power is restrained, deliberate, and patient. Thunder may capture attention, but a whisper can change direction. Loudness may impress, but quiet influence endures. God's methods often defy our expectations precisely because they are rooted in wisdom rather than spectacle. If we learn to value the subtle, we begin to notice the evidence of help already surrounding us. The strength to continue one more day. The insight to avoid a harmful decision. The resilience to forgive when resentment seemed easier. These are not self-generated miracles. They are gifts, woven gently into the fabric of daily life. To demand dramatic proof of divine involvement is to risk missing the quiet miracles unfolding each day. God works quietly but never weakly. His influence may not always disrupt the sky, but it reshapes the soul. His assistance may not always be announced, but it is active in the stillness, in the ordinary, in the unnoticed moments of courage and clarity. Powerful help is already at work. We often imagine breakthrough as something that happens to us, as though it were an external event that arrives suddenly and changes everything at once. We picture doors swinging open, obstacles collapsing, long-awaited answers appearing without resistance. Yet before any outward door opens, something far more significant must occur within. The most important breakthroughs begin not in our circumstances, but in our character. The heart must be prepared before the opportunity can be sustained. If circumstances changed overnight while the inner life remained unchanged, the result would be instability rather than success. A person unprepared for responsibility may mishandle it. A heart unprepared for influence may misuse it. A mind unprepared for abundance may be overwhelmed by it. What we call delay may actually be preparation, ensuring that when the external shift occurs, we are strong enough to carry it wisely. There is a subtle danger in longing only for visible change. We can become so focused on escaping difficulty that we overlook the growth available within it. Yet growth is the very thing that equips us to handle what lies ahead. Without maturity, blessing can become burden. Without humility, promotion can become pride. Without discipline, opportunity can dissolve into regret. The inner transformation is not secondary to the breakthrough. It is foundation. The heart is the center of motives, desires, and intentions. If these remain misaligned, no amount of external success will produce lasting fulfillment. A breakthrough that feeds ambition without refining character may satisfy temporarily, but ultimately leaves emptiness. True transformation reshapes not only what we achieve, but why we seek it. It purifies the longing itself. Often the preparation of the heart happens quietly. It occurs through small acts of obedience, private decisions, and unseen struggles. We learn patience when we could choose frustration. We practice integrity when compromise would be easier. We develop compassion through our own pain. These changes may not be visible to others, but they are critical. They form the inner structure required to support greater things. It is tempting to ask, when will my situation change? A wiser question might be, who am I becoming while I wait? The answer to that question determines the quality of the breakthrough when it arrives. If waiting produces bitterness, the open door may not bring peace. If waiting produces wisdom, the same door can lead to lasting impact. The condition of the heart shapes the experience of the outcome. Inner breakthrough often precedes outer breakthrough by a considerable margin. A person may conquer fear long before they step onto the stage that once intimidated them. They may develop discipline long before receiving the opportunity that requires it. They may cultivate forgiveness long before reconciliation becomes possible. The unseen victory within makes the visible victory possible. Preparation can feel slow and even frustrating because it lacks spectacle. There are no public celebrations for growing in patience, no applause for choosing humility, no recognition for resisting temptation. Yet these are the very victories that determine long-term success. A tree's strength lies not in its visible height, but in its hidden roots. Without deep roots, impressive growth cannot withstand strong winds. There is also mercy in inner preparation. If external change came before internal readiness, the pressure of new circumstances might expose weaknesses in painful ways. By shaping the heart first, God protects us from being crushed by what we once prayed for. What seems like postponement is often protection. What feels like silence may be careful instruction. When the heart changes, perception changes. We begin to see opportunities where we once saw obstacles. We recognize lessons where we once saw only inconvenience. Gratitude replaces complaint. Confidence replaces fear. This shift in perspective is itself a breakthrough. Even before the situation alters, our experience of it transforms. The readiness of the heart also influences how we steward success. A prepared heart remains humble in victory. It remembers the waiting season and carries gratitude forward. It does not attribute success solely to personal effort, but acknowledges guidance and grace. This humility preserves the blessing rather than exhausting it. Breakthrough that begins within is enduring. External circumstances can fluctuate, but internal transformation remains. When courage has been cultivated, it does not disappear with difficulty. When faith has deepened, it does not evaporate with delay. The person who has grown inwardly is not entirely dependent on favorable conditions to remain steady. We may long for the moment when everything changes outwardly, but perhaps the greater miracle is when everything changes inwardly, when peace replaces anxiety, when trust overcomes doubt, when purpose clarifies confusion. These shifts are not minor adjustments. They are profound realignments of the soul. The door will open in its time. The opportunity will come. The answer will arrive. But when it does, the greatest evidence of breakthrough may not be the changed circumstance. It will be the changed person standing before it, calm where they were once anxious, steady where they were once impulsive, grateful where they were once restless. The heart prepared is the breakthrough begun. Faith is often misunderstood as blind optimism, a kind of cheerful denial in the face of harsh reality. Yet true faith is neither naive nor detached from the facts before us. It sees the circumstances clearly, sometimes more clearly than anyone else, and still refuses to grant them the final word. Faith does not ignore what is visible, it simply recognizes that what is unseen may be more decisive. We live in a world that trains us to trust our senses above all else. We believe what we can measure, count, or immediately observe. If progress is not visible, we assume it is absent. If change cannot be detected, we conclude it is impossible. Yet much of what shapes our lives cannot be seen at all. Love cannot be weighed, yet it directs decisions. Thought cannot be touched, yet it determines action. Conviction cannot be photographed, yet it sustains endurance. Faith operates in this deeper dimension. It anchors itself not merely in present evidence, but in enduring truth. When circumstances appear discouraging, faith does not deny the discouragement. It simply interprets it differently. It understands that the visible moment is only a fragment of a much larger story. What we see is often temporary. What we do not see may be eternal. There are seasons when visible evidence contradicts our hopes. Doors remain closed. Efforts seem fruitless. Prayers appear unanswered. In such moments, sight alone can lead to despair. If we evaluate reality solely by immediate outcomes, we may abandon promises too soon. Faith, however, refuses to collapse under temporary appearances. It holds to the conviction that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. This does not mean faith is effortless. To trust beyond what is visible requires courage. It requires resisting the instinct to retreat when results are delayed. It demands patience when quick answers are not provided. Faith is not passive resignation, it is active perseverance. It continues to act, speak, and hope in alignment with truth, even when circumstances lag behind. Faith also reshapes perception. Two people may face identical situations and interpret them differently. One sees only limitation, the other sees possibility. One views delay as rejection, the other views it as preparation. The difference lies not in the situation itself, but in the lens through which it is viewed. Faith adjusts the lens. When we rely solely on sight, we are easily shaken. Markets fluctuate, opinions shift, relationships change. If our confidence rests solely on what can be immediately observed, instability becomes inevitable. Faith offers a steadier foundation. It roots itself in character rather than circumstance, in promises rather than probabilities. It recognizes that visible storms do not negate unseen stability. There is also a refining quality to faith. It exposes what we truly believe. It asks whether our trust depends on constant reassurance or whether it can endure silence. It reveals whether we seek comfort alone or deeper connection. Faith matures when it survives unanswered questions. It strengthens when it persists without applause. Often, what is unseen is already at work long before it becomes visible. Foundations are laid before buildings rise. Plans are drafted before structures appear. In the first layer, divine purposes may be unfolding quietly beyond our perception. The absence of immediate change does not imply inactivity. It may simply indicate preparation occurring out of sight. Faith does not eliminate emotion. Doubt may whisper. Fear may surface. Yet faith chooses not to enthrone these voices. It acknowledges them, but does not surrender to them. It remembers past faithfulness. It recalls previous provisions. It gathers evidence from history to strengthen confidence in the present. To see beyond circumstances is not to detach from reality, it is to embrace a fuller reality. Circumstances are part of the story, but they are not the whole story. What is visible today may shift tomorrow. What is unseen truth, character, purpose remains steady. Faith aligns itself with what endures. In moments of uncertainty, faith becomes a quiet defiance against despair. It declares that present difficulty does not dictate final outcome. It insists that hope is not foolish but necessary. It believes that unseen guidance may be steering events even when the path appears unclear. Faith also influences action. When we believe that unseen possibilities exist, we act accordingly. We continue building when results are small. We continue loving when responses are slow. We continue praying when answers seem distant. Our behavior reflects our conviction that the visible moment is not ultimate. Over time, what was once unseen often becomes evident. Seeds sprout, doors open, clarity replaces confusion. Yet, even when visible breakthrough arrives, faith remains essential, for new challenges inevitably appear. The journey of trust is continuous. To live by sight alone is to confine ourselves to the limits of the present moment. To live by faith is to step into a broader horizon. It is to acknowledge that while circumstances are real, they are not final. It is to believe that what cannot yet be seen may already be unfolding. Faith sees beyond what stands before us and anchors itself in what stands above us, steady and unshaken. Timing is one of the most perplexing aspects of the human experience. We measure our lives by calendars, deadlines, and expectations. We set goals and silently attach dates to them. When those dates pass without fulfillment, disappointment often follows. Yet there is a profound difference between delay and denial, and at the heart of that difference lies the mystery of grace. Grace determines the timing, not merely our desire. We assume that readiness is defined by longing. If we want something deeply enough, we imagine we are prepared for it. But desire alone is not maturity. A child may desire independence long before possessing the wisdom to handle it. In the same way, we may crave opportunities that we are not yet equipped to steward. Grace sees beyond appetite and evaluates capacity. Divine timing is not careless or arbitrary. It is not a matter of whim or indifference. It is rooted in knowledge far wider than our own. We see a single chapter. Grace sees the entire narrative. We focus on immediate relief. Grace considers long-term formation. What feels like unnecessary delay from our perspective may be precise alignment from a higher one. There are countless factors at work in any unfolding story: relationships, circumstances, unseen influences, personal growth. We are rarely aware of how intricately these elements intertwine. Grace orchestrates beyond our perception. It arranges what we cannot predict. It withholds not to harm, but to harmonize events in ways we could not engineer ourselves. If timing were left entirely to us, we would often rush into situations prematurely. We would seize doors before hinges were secure. We would accept responsibility before character had matured. Many of the frustrations we experience may, in fact, be merciful restraints. A postponed answer can be protection from future regret. Grace also tempers impatience. Waiting exposes our tendencies toward control. It challenges our insistence that life conform to our schedule. Yet in the waiting, something quiet and necessary unfolds. We learn surrender. We recognize dependence. We discover that we are not the ultimate architects of our destiny. This humility is not weakness. It is wisdom. There is a deep comfort in knowing that breakthrough is not solely dependent on human effort. Effort matters. Discipline matters. Faithfulness matters, but grace determines when opportunity converges with readiness. We can prepare diligently, but we cannot force the moment. The fruit ripens in its season. To harvest prematurely is to compromise quality. Often we only understand timing in retrospect. Looking back, we see how earlier answers might have complicated rather than completed our journey. We recognize how certain experiences shaped us for later responsibilities. What once seemed like cruel delay reveals itself as careful preparation. Perspective matures appreciation. Grace does not ignore prayer. It listens with compassion and responds with wisdom. Sometimes the answer is immediate because readiness and opportunity align. Sometimes the answer is gradual because formation is still unfolding. Sometimes the answer is different from what we expected because a better path exists. In every case, timing reflects care rather than neglect. There is also freedom in surrendering to divine timing. When we release the burden of forcing outcomes, we can focus instead on faithfulness in the present moment. We give our best effort today, trusting that tomorrow's doors will open when the hour is right. Anxiety lessens when we accept that ultimate control rests beyond us. Impatience often stems from comparison. We see others advancing and assume we have been overlooked. Yet grace writes individual stories. What is timely for one person may be premature for another. Comparison distorts perception. It tempts us to measure our journey by someone else's clock. But grace operates according to purpose, not competition. When the appointed time arrives, there is a clarity about it. The door that once resisted begins to yield. The path that once seemed blocked becomes accessible. What required strain now unfolds with surprising ease. This does not mean there are no challenges, but there is a sense of alignment, a quiet confirmation that the season has shifted. Such moments are not accidents. They are the convergence of preparation, purpose, and providence. They remind us that waiting was not wasted. They reveal that unseen processes were at work long before visible change occurred. They testify that grace had been shaping circumstances and character simultaneously. To trust that grace determines timing is to live with steady confidence rather than frantic urgency. It is to believe that what is meant for you cannot be permanently withheld, and what is not meant for you cannot be forced into lasting blessing. It is to rest in the assurance that every season, whether active or waiting, serves a meaningful role. In the end, timing governed by grace is an expression of love. It protects, prepares, and positions. It may not always align with our preferences, but it aligns with our ultimate good. And when the breakthrough finally comes, it will not feel rushed or accidental. It will feel right because grace decided the hour had come. So, as we come to the close of this reflection, let us gather the threads together. You are not waiting by accident. You are not struggling without purpose. You are not standing alone in a silent universe. The delay has meaning. The pressure has value. The quietness has power. The inner work has purpose. Faith is not foolish, and the timing is not random. What feels slow is often sacred. What feels hidden is often holy. What feels uncertain is often being carefully arranged. Perhaps the breakthrough you seek is closer than you think, not merely as an event ahead of you, but as a transformation already unfolding within you. Perhaps the help you asked for did not arrive in spectacle because it arrived in strength. Perhaps the silence you feared was not absence, but careful design. Stand firm then. Do not measure your progress only by what you can see. Do not interpret delay as rejection. Do not mistake quietness for inactivity. You are being guided, and when the door opens, as it surely will, you will not step through as the same person who first prayed for it. You will walk forward steadier, deeper, wiser, not merely relieved, but refined, not merely delivered, but developed. Divine help is not distant, it is present, it is patient, it is patient, it is purposeful. So hold your ground, keep your faith, guard your heart. Your breakthrough is not lost, it is being prepared.